Hello, it's Queer Talk 101. It's Sunday. I'm Josh. This is Bonita. I guess she has decided to co host the video with me. And this week's subject is really whatever we want to talk about. I know Megan had kind of talked about her relationship. I am going to talk about relationships, but it's going to be a little bit more general, so here goes. Just to give you some background, I have been in a relationship for 5 years now. Me and my husband met 6 days before my birthday, and on my birthday, we decided to enter into a relationship. And we've been living together for over 5 years now. And also, our relationship is monogamous. I know some people have this disbelief that all gay relationships are open. They're not. Some are. Some are completely monogamous, like mine has and always will be. Some goes through periods of time where they may be open and then periods of time where they're closed. Some have one period of time where they're open and then they remain a closed monogamous relationship for the rest of the existence. And just so every relationship is just different. And just so you know, there are heterosexual relationships that are open, and I actually know more open heterosexual relationships than I do homosexual relationships. And also, like when it comes to getting into a relationship, you can get into a relationship by going to clubs, going to bars, walking down the street, basically in your everyday life. I personally chose to do online dating. Do not online dating thinking it's for losers and it's for people who are trash and just want hookups. That's not always the case. That's how I met my husband. I chose to be that way because I am shy and I'm generally not the person that approaches the guy. They would approach me. So this online dating just happened to work for me, and it made things less awkward when I did choose to meet my husband in real life because of the fact that we had already been IMing, emailing, and had already talked on the phone. So I already knew stuff about him, so it wasn't as awkward for me. And when it comes to relationship advice in general, don't compare your relationship to other relationships. Everybody's different. Like in my relationship, I am a little bit more submissive. He's a little bit more dominant. Some cases, everything's equal. In some cases, one's way more dominant and one's way less, way more submissive than the other. That's not the way every relationship works. Every relationship is different, so don't compare yours to somebody else's and expect to get the same results. As long as whoever involved is consenting and they're fine with it and it's not causing harm to them, by all means go ahead and do it. And another thing, like with relationships, don't set up rules for your other half and then do the complete opposite. Whatever guidelines I want for him and apply to him, apply to me as well. You got to keep things fair in a relationship. And also, like you got to think of more than just your needs and wants once you enter a relationship. Whatever I do and whatever affects me, oh, I guess you got bored with it, also affects him. Anything I do will affect him. Anything that affects me affects him. So you got to keep that in mind when you're making decisions about even what you're doing in your day-to-day life. And another thing about relationships is you got to keep the line of communication open. He's not going to know what he's doing wrong or even what he's doing right if you don't communicate it with him. Same way, you're not going to know what you're doing wrong and what you're doing right in a relationship if he doesn't communicate it with you. And just so you know, I'm going to use the word he because that's the way it applies in my relationships. I know in some cases it's a she, but I'm just going to use the word he because that applies for my relationship. And like again, still talking about relationships. Sex is not the end all and be all in a relationship. It should not be your basis of your relationship. It is part of your relationship, but it's not your whole relationship. If your whole relationship is about sex, it's generally not a good relationship. And another thing about like again we're talking about communication and needs and wants, you will have to compromise. He will have to compromise. You will have to make compromises. That's what relationships are based off of. You have to compromise in order for things to work in a relationship. Not always, but in some cases you will have to compromise and meet somewhere in the middle. And don't ever enter into a relationship thinking that it is going to be easy. Relationships are not easy. They are challenging and they are hard. They require effort to keep alive. But if you are in a good, decent relationship, it is worth it. My relationship has been tiresome at times and challenging, but I would never change it for the world because I am completely in love with my man. He is completely in love with me, and I love being in our relationship. Relationships, you will have fights, you will have challenges. You relationships will grow and change. Don't enter into a relationship thinking that when you go into a relationship, at first it's always going to remain the same. They grow and they change. That's part of a relationship. You will go for that first phase of feeling all lovey-dovey and thinking that he's perfect, and that will change. But that's a good thing. Good relationships grow with the changes, and they don't only survive challenges. They not only make it through them, but they end up becoming stronger afterwards. But every relationship will have fights, and you will have times where you're thinking, maybe I should just call it quits. Just keep on trying, and trust me, it's worth it. So anyway, this is my topic on relationships. This is my view on relationships and my advice for relationships. So yeah, hope you're enjoying it. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and see you next week.